public, where you at here? I'm trying to get that. And that never works out, right? That's never a good route. So now I'm back, and we're back live. And today we're going to talk about the Ennead. I'm just kind of making sure my stream is all good. We're going to go live on TikTok as well. And wow, man, you know, it's a meth lab. Like, what the hell? And the Ennead. Wow, man, you know, it's a meth lab. Like, what the hell? The Ennead. Okay, so we got the Ennead going. We got the live stream going. So we're going on all. Okay, so we got the Ennead going. We got the live stream going. So we're going on all. Okay, so we got the Ennead all right. Going. We got the live stream going. So now we got it, and we're back, right? We're all the way live here. Okay. So today we're going to talk about the Ennead. We're going to I got some study material for us. So we can get right into talking about this group.
This is not a list of gods. This is a system. The Ennead is the Heliopolitan power line, the royal bloodline of reality itself. From singularity to separation to structure to collapse to renewal. Creation does not end in harmony. It ends in tension. That tension is the design, the self-generated source, Atum, also known.
So this is the Ennead. Obviously, we know these 9. These are the most well-known 9 in the Kemetic or Egyptian belief system. It starts off with Atum or Atum, obviously, and then branches out. So let's kind of hear what they have to say about Atum.
Temu, he who completed himself, before form, before light, before direction. There was Atum, alone within the infinite waters of none. No parents, no blueprint, no external cause. Atum does not build the universe. He exhales it from himself, through himself, as himself. He is completion and origin.
So this makes Atum, he's a self-generated god. Per this mythology, there literally is nothing before him. There is no Genesis prior to him coming into any kind of existence. So when they say he breeds, he literally breeds everything into existence, right? Not just himself, but obviously like entire creation comes from him. All of it, right? This is purely self-created. And I don't even know if we see that much of self-created deities in other myths.
At once. The singularity before all division. Everything that follows is Atum pulled apart. Shu, the first separation.
You see, that's an important thing, though. Like, everything is simply Atum just torn apart. Even all these other, representations, this all comes back to there was still a singular deity. I think that's the most important part of it is, I don't know how you agree with, the Kemetic belief system. It's often been called, like, not being polytheistic, and I don't know if at its core ultimately that it is polytheistic. I think it's a monotheistic religion, and these are all various expressions. And I know we give Atum this gender assignment. I don't think that it should be that way, but we'll kind of see what we can learn about the actual mythology, what the people said, to kind of tell us if that's more warranted. But that part we do see. So now we're going to talk about Shu.
Wind, distance made divine. Creation cannot exist without space. Shu is space given will. He lifts the sky away from the earth. He holds Nut aloft. He prevents collapse. Shu is not gentle. He is function.
So Shu to me is always like that primary force. It's wind. We go back to the story. It talks about him and Nut or Tefnut and just their bond. And he has to lift her up. It was in that separation. That's why they call him the importance of the separation. Because that separation or that closeness was literally preventing life from happening, like nothing else was going down because these two were so tightly bonded. So him creating space actually gives the world the opportunity. He separates Geb and Nut. That's where it is. He separates those two because those two were so closely bonded. So sky and earth were like this together, right? We know what they were doing. But what they were also doing without thinking is that they were preventing any type of life from existing in between the two of them. Right, metaphorically. So what Shu does is he separates them two. Now, in the family kind of lineage, he's kind of their father in that sense. So, I mean, this is kind of a weird thing. I know there's a lot of, because they're using it as analogies. All this stuff they're not really, beings like us. So when they call them like brother and sister, it's a family. Yeah, it is weird, and it does sound very weird. The only saving grace is that it's not literally brother and sister, but essentially in the hierarchy of how they list the Ennead, that's how it comes out. That Shu and Nut are in that same, and even the ones who come after them are seen as their children. So that's a weird one. We'll talk about that. But this is where Shu comes in. And I always talk, at this point there's, Atum, where everyone comes from. There's Tefnut, and there's Shu. And Tefnut, of course, is moisture, and we'll get to her in a second. But let's get through Shu here.
Without separation, there is no movement, no individuality, no life. Shu creates room. Reality rushes in to fill it. Tefnut, balance through pressure. Tefnut, moisture, heat.
So this is, again, why she's so important. Because right off the bat, she's moisture. She's water. And, of course, without water, there's zero life. Like, we're mostly water. So to me, I always kind of took their part of the mythology and saw it as like it's almost like it's terraforming a planet. It was getting a planet ready for life. It was doing all the things that you would need more. In addition to the sun, and then you have the water, and then the space for life to grow. That kind of creates everything. Just an interesting dynamic with her and how she's respected as well.
Law that pushes back. Balance is not peace. Balance is resistance. Tefnut regulates creation the way water shapes stone. Slowly, relentlessly, inevitably. She is correction. She is return. She is...
So again, all these things that come out of this particular deity, the biggest thing, in her maintaining the balance, you can see she's there with the Ankh and just some symbolism. But obviously the water deity is of major importance because they are literally life-giving.
Is order enforced by consequence. When balance is broken, Tefnut leaves. When she returns, structure follows. Geb, the living earth. Jeb, the soil that breathes, the ground that desires. He laughs. Earthquakes answer.
So the embodiment of the earth, what always stood out to me for the Ennead, for this particular group is, I was used to representations of the earth being female gendered, like woman gendered. We're used to Gaia was the belief system, or at least the mythology I had heard of previously, and that always aligned. That was obviously Norse mythology, but I think we've always, even in other references, we tend to talk about the earth or earth spirit as being a female engendered spirit because, being bountiful, supporting life, that kind of stuff. But specifically with the Kemetic, they don't do that, and he's this male gendered deity, and we'll talk about why this is important because he's going to have his attachment will be to the sky goddess. So those are two kind of important kind of hierarchies or roles that they sit in.
Geb is matter alive with longing. He reaches for Nut endlessly. From that longing, life erupts. In Kemetic thought, matter is not dead. It is emotional, fertile, hungry. Nut, the cosmic enclosure. Nut, the sky, the stars.
Now this is probably a more kind of familiar identity for her. You can kind of see in this arcing, mode, and they had to be separated. So, Gab and Nut had to be pushed apart. This is why she's in, because they wanted to be so tight to each other. And again, they're kind of portrayed as siblings, which kind of makes it really weird when we have a conversation. But we need to understand what the mythology actually was saying. Although, like I said, admittedly, nowadays it's not as easy to talk about, siblings in these romantic relationships and have people not, strongly push back.
Herb of protection. She swallows the sun each night. She gives birth to it each morning.
So this is a big part of her growing, right? The myth of her and her importance. That every night Atum, she consumes him, like the sky consuming the sun. This is what, of course, would facilitate his time in the underworld, in the afterlife, only to come back. And that every morning she births him again. So that gives you a lot of power when you're giving birth to the primary facilitator of life itself. So she has a lot of power in controlling this narrative.
Is the container of existence, the boundary that keeps reality from spilling back into nothing. She is vast. She is maternal. She is eternal. Without Nut, nothing remains held. Osar, the king who dies correctly.
Now, so Asar or Osiris, now we're talking about those who are supposed to be the children of Geb and also Nut, right? So again, it gets a little weird because we're going to have a lot of sibling pairings that are going to happen. I'm sure for symbolic reasons. I don't like, they were not, physical beings in the way that the Greeks were. So a lot of this is a little more abstract. But Osiris himself is very important because he's the first one, per their own mythology, he is the first one to actually die, to be killed. And it's a very famous story. I think I've done a version of it. You can find it in the story time on the channel. But if you want to check that out, it's a good opportunity for you to kind of pick up that backstory about him. But that's really essentially where he comes. So let's hear a little bit more about the green one, the one who descends. He's the whole idea of mummies start from this initial mythology.
Osar, the green one, lord of the Duat. Osar does not resist death. He becomes it. He transforms it. He is the pattern of life. Death, return.
And that's what we get from him. It's death, right? It's life, of course, then death, and then this return. And this all comes from him. He's green because he also is tied to the vegetation. And also in his life on Earth, or what we see as his time on Earth, he taught a lot of the sciences behind agriculture. So he introduces a lot of the first technologies that mankind gets his hand on, at least in mythology, right? Not literally. But in mythology, he's the one who taught about agriculture. He taught about temple or pyramid building. And because of the temple and pyramid building aspect, he is attached to cultures all over the world. Any place that you see significant, temple structures or monumental temple structures, there are going to be conversations about this particular deity because the myth says that he traveled the world and he brought this idea of temple building all over the world. So this is what's significant about him in that particular role, being an educator or being a teacher.
Vegetation rises with him. Civilization mirrors him. Law is rooted in his...
Again, civilization mirrors him. So that's any civilization and their laws would come from this particular deity here.
Sacrifice. True kingship is not domination. It is continuity beyond death. Ash Oiset. Divine intelligence.
So Oset, again, one of my favorites here and one of the most powerful in the Ennead. Like, she's well known for her magical abilities. She is the one who literally, while Asar was known for being the mummy that gets brought, gets resurrected, she was the one who actually does it. She has some help. We'll talk about Anpu in a separate video, but she's also getting a lot of help from Nephthys, her sister. So there's a lot of angles that these deities are linked together. But you see, one of her title is the Great Magician because of her aptitude for magical abilities.
In motion. Offset, the Great Magician, the throne itself. Offset does not overpower. Okay, now the reason she's called the throne itself is, per their belief system, the queen makes the laws and the king enforces the law. So without her, there is no throne. She literally sets Heru on the throne, right? She is the backer. She's the one who does all the legwork to actually get Heru the support that he needed. Because there's a lot of fights between Heru and Set, and we'll talk about those fights later. They're some of the best stories in mythology, I think, especially Egyptian. But, that's not even how he ascended. It wasn't the fights that determined it. It went through kind of a committee, and we'll talk about them as well, kind of elders. So she presented the strongest case, and she went through hell in order to get her son placed on the throne. But you'll see in images of her, you'll often see her standing behind the throne, and they say things like, kings from queens come kings, and that's the story with her and Heru. Is one, she was the one who, when her husband got murdered, she was the one who put action into place to collect his body parts. She was the one who found out the magical spells to bring it back. She was the one who then implemented those spells. She then raised Heru by herself, prepping him to come back and take the kingdom for his own the entire time. Thinks. She reconstructs Osar. She protects Horus. She bends gods through strategy and patience. Knowledge alone is not power. Applied knowledge is. Offset wins because she plans longer. Set, necessary disruption. Set, storm.
Now, Set is, really gets identified as the bad guy here, and it totally makes sense. He does a lot of terrible things. While we talk about his brother being the first one of the Ennead to be murdered, who is the first murderer? Yeah, this guy right here. So you're the first murderer in their mythological pantheon. I don't know if another deity ever dies like that. I don't know if there's another internal murder. But even how Set does it, man, it's mad shiesty. He doesn't come forward and chant like something you would think Set would do. This is a deity of chaos. He's known for war. You would think he would come out and declare it, like let it be known. That's not how he moves. He's actually very deceptive. And that was the part that was actually kind of shocking. He tricks his brother into getting into his casket. Why his brother gets in a casket. For anyone listening, if anyone says, "Hey, I made this casket. I want to see who fits it perfectly," don't you get your ass in that casket, right? Because there's nothing but problems coming after that. And that's what Set gives to him. Is nothing but problems. He slices him up. He kills him. He wants to make sure he's done. I think even the dismemberment comes later, but that's a part of it. They dismember him. They scatter his body. I think it's 13 pieces. But there's a lot going on with Set. And we'll even have to talk about why Set did this, right? Set was out of control, but there is some backstory to that with Nephthys and Asar and Isis or Osset that we'll talk about later. That'll kind of put a little bit of what Set's supposed behavior is really, really in line with what was going on. But we'll finish with Set and talk about that in a little bit.
Desert, unapologetic force. Set is not evil. Set is pressure without consent. He breaks stagnation. He tests kings. He destroys what cannot endure. Without Set, there is no evolution.
That's the key. You know, Set from them also plays a heroic role. Every night, you know, we talked about Atum Ra going to the underworld. And when he's in the underworld, man, it's on. It is on. You've got Apep, who's out to destroy him nightly, and Apep has all his agents. So when he descends into the underworld, this is a really problematic time. So there are Nethers or deities on that boat that are there to protect him all the way through that ride. And who do you think one of the main ones is? Yeah, it's this guy, Set, who's even in mythology. I wish you could find this quote, but he says, when he describes himself, he very proudly says, "I slay the enemies of Ra." That's what I do. Every night, I don't care what's going on during the daytime. I got a bunch of stuff happening. But I tell you what, every single night, I slay the enemies of Ra. I stand on this boat and I lay them down to protect the entire cosmos. Because if he didn't, if we didn't protect Atum Ra, there is nothing to come back to later. So Set's going to get his own, like all these guys are going to get their own segments. We'll come up on those guys, the next time I come back. But he's a guy that, man, there's a lot of layers to it. It's always bothered me that he has this comparison to Satan, the light bringer that we hear about from the biblical account. I couldn't think of two guys who are more different. Set has no desire to teach you anything other than how to get busted upside the head. That's not what he's really trying to do. So to take on that role, he's actually not even a corrupter to his own system. He's not even Loki. Like, if you look at Loki, he's kind of that trickster role and he antagonizes, but he's always got their back. That's not who Set is. Every single night, like, Set was like, I hate Osiris. I hate you, big brother, for some very specific stuff that is debatable, right? When we have the conversation about what Osiris did, maybe everyone's going to be like, yeah, Osiris, you were kind of really tripping. And I think that he was. So Set's very different because the protection of life depends on him. He has to be there every night with all the rest, because if he doesn't and we lose that fight one time, it's done right then. The first time Apep slays Osiris, I don't know if he gets a comeback on that one, but we're going to have problems now if he doesn't come back, if that son is dead.
Order that cannot survive Set does not deserve to exist. Nephthys, guardian of the threshold. Nephthys, Nephthys, lady.
Nephthys, right? The lady of the house. And she is quietly, very quietly among the most powerful in this belief system. She doesn't have to bend her power to anyone. She chooses to do so because she personally takes a different route. Now, she's as much defined by her marriage to Set, which seems so odd. And it is. It's a terrible thing. She doesn't get anything out of it. She wants to be a mother. She's loving. This guy over here is infertile. So you already were going to have a problem, right? So that's where we link the story. Like, she does eventually have a child. And that child is Anpu, or you guys might know him as Anubis, right? And that's totally fine. But Set's infertile, okay? Set represents the desert. And why does Set? What do we know about the desert? It's not a lot of stuff growing in the desert. There's not a lot of stuff growing out of Set either. He doesn't produce seed the way that he likes to. In fact, he didn't use his seed that way. He tried to use his seed to show that somebody else was gay. Okay, so that's how he was operating. But, again, Nephthys is one of the more powerful. Let's continue to learn about her.
Of the house. She stands where things end, but do not disappear. She does not rule, she watches. She guards the dead, the grieving, the silent crossings no one celebrates. Not all power is visible. Some power stands watch. Closing reflection.
So yeah, she during the the ceremony or the ritual that brings Asar back to life, her role is you watch out for Set. Go and put a perimeter. So she puts this perimeter out, and she does everything to confuse it. The sound, through wind, through throwing off scent. She does all these things. The important part to remember is that it doesn't happen without her. The stuff that she was doing, that wasn't just nice ad. She was really a facilitator for the arrival of Heru. And this goes back to talking about her relationship with Aset. These guys aren't just sisters, they're literally best friends. And you see their stories are woven within each other on a deep, deep level. And for her, it's like she doesn't care that Aset gets all the recognition, which is kind of a weird thing, which is why Nephthys kind of gets put in the background a lot more than what she should. But her true power, her true nature is 100% as powerful as Aset. Again, Aset gets the magic, the great magician on, and I think that may be applicable here. But let's not discount like Nephthys' power, her strength, what she can actually get done, and what she means to this group.
The Ennead is not harmony. It is a system under strain. Creation begins unified. Then it separates. Then it struggles. Then it renews. This is the Heliopolitan truth. Reality is not peaceful. Reality is functional. And the royal bloodline of existence is not pure. It is necessary.
So that gives us a really good overview of who the Ennead is at this point. Obviously, I'm going to come back and kind of get deeper into these guys later on. But right now, if you guys have got any questions, I don't think we've got anybody in the chat. But if you want to drop some questions about the Ennead right now, this is a good time. Otherwise, I got another video already prepared for you guys, and we're going to go through this one as well. And this will kind of give us an overview of Ma'at. And that's the thing. Ma'at is such an important concept to understand. Like, let's get right into it. Let's just get right into the Ma'at video so you guys can understand Ma'at.
Section 5, the Ma'at system. Order and collapse. Before gods ruled the heavens, before kings ruled the earth, before morality became a matter of opinion, there was Ma'at.
So Ma'at is the overall system. Everything within this belief system is here to align with Ma'at. If you ever want to know what are these gods doing, they're all serving Ma'at. There is a balance to Ma'at that has to be maintained. If Ma'at is not maintained, nobody passes on to the next life, right? The moral decay of the entire belief system really breaks down without Ma'at.
Ma'at is not a mood. She is not a feeling. She is not belief. Ma'at is law. She is truth, balance, justice, and proportionality. Not as ideals, but as requirements for reality to function. This is the moral engine of the universe.
So again, this is how important maintaining this balance is. We do see things like this in other belief systems. I think in West Africa, it is Ifa, I believe is what it's called. And it's the same type of reflection of balance. Now, what comes out of Ma'at, and we'll talk about this later as well, there are the 42 laws of Ma'at. And from the 42 laws of Ma'at, you get the 42 assessors of Ma'at. These are some things I'm definitely going to dig into in some other videos, but I wanted to hold that part, at least for right now, to keep the series kind of tight. But those are important things that you actually live by to be in balance with Ma'at. So it's not quite a guessing game, but you do have to be a good person. That's what they're going to require at minimum. That you didn't steal from people, that you didn't kill anyone, that you didn't lie, you didn't swindle. Like, there's a lot. Again, there's 42 of them. And from that, we believe, or some people believe, this is where you would later get the 10 Commandments from this list of 42.
Not a code you debate, a system you either align with or break against. Ma'at does not ask how you feel. She asks whether the world still holds together after you act. Does cause match consequence? Does power carry responsibility? Does order remain flexible enough to survive change? When balance holds, existence continues. When balance fails, collapse follows.
And that's all that Ma'at is fundamentally about. Maintaining that balance at all costs. If balance is maintained, we all live and thrive. If we fall out of balance with Ma'at, that's when collapse happens for a civilization.
Not as punishment, as inevitability. To function, Mahat requires structure, and structure requires language. That is where Thoth enters. Thoth is not merely a god of...
So Thoth, again, you'll probably know him, Hermes Trismegistus. He is considered to be, in the Greek pantheon, that's how he is integrated. Some of the others are also integrated into the Greek system, but we don't see him as prevalent, right? And we'll talk about some of those when we do the individual breakouts. But he is a huge... Thoth is probably maybe the most well known. I mean, if we look at this group, obviously I saw a commercial with Atum Ra the other day. How he's still getting commercial deals, I don't know. I think we know Osiris pretty well. I think people know about Set. I think Nephthys is kind of hidden a lot more, but definitely Isis. But Thoth is right there in terms of like just sheer drawing powers. We really, really have wrapped ourselves around understanding who Thoth is.
Wisdom. He is the architecture beneath wisdom. Thoth governs language, mathematics, measurement, writing, timekeeping, and record keeping. He is syntax. He is memory. He is the reason truth can be preserved instead of distorted.
So he's kind of everything. He's absolutely central to the belief system in so many different ways. And that's what we really have to understand about him. You see, he's written in the symbols or the Medu-Neche, which is the language. And if you have someone who's really saying that they represent that culture, they would know this language. So don't listen to people who don't know like the fundamentals. I'm not from that culture, but I understand it enough to be able to poke holes in people who are falsely claiming it, but missing big, massive chunks of what the belief system represented.
Though justice cannot be measured, balance cannot be calculated, truth cannot be verified. This is why Thoth stands beside judgment, not as an enforcer, but as the recorder of reality as it actually occurred. No emotion, no intention, only alignment or the lack of it.
So, and again, that's Thoth's role. Again, that detachment. I don't know if there were even shrines ever made to him. He's a very important deity, but I don't know if he was deified in the same way that we would look at these other deities with having their own temples. I think there's a room cut out for him at Dundera, but I don't know if there's a whole temple dedicated to him, and I'll have to look that up.
You do not argue with Thoth. You either balance the equation or you don't. Then there is Anubis. Anubis is often misunderstood as a god of death. That is inaccurate.
And again, yeah, that's the thing with Anubis. The other name you'll probably hear people use when they talk about him will be Anpu. And Anpu, I believe, is the original name, but Anubis obviously works. Now, the really interesting thing about Anubis, and we'll have to do this in his individual breakdown, is his parentage. Because again, if you heard earlier, his mother is Nephthys. Her husband is Set, and Set's not his father. So there's some stuff going on, and then obviously you see the connection between Anubis and also Asar or Osiris, who, per this mythology, this is his pops, right? That's who Pops is. So they both kind of share this responsibility of the underworld. And what Anubis does is he helps to guide you through it. When you wake up, you're looking for either Anubis or you're looking for Nephthys. Those are the deities who will hold your hand as you're transitioning from this life into the afterlife. So if you need someone to watch out for you, look for Nephthys, look for Anubis, because those are your best bets at getting some help.
Anubis is logistics. He does not decide guilt. He does not issue punishment. He processes souls according to compatibility with order. When the heart is weighed against Mahat, this is not a moral trial. It is a systems check. Can this soul exist in higher balance, or would it destabilize what it enters? Anubis does not condemn.
So again, with Anubis, this is great because this gives a lot of details. You have to go before Maat. You can see what he's got there. He's weighing a heart against the feather of Anubis. And if your heart is heavier than that feather, this is not good for you. This is actually bad business for you. And we'll get to why here in a moment.
He routes. Every soul goes where it can exist without corrupting the structure around it. Mm-hmm. This is not mercy. This is precision. And when balance cannot be restored, when corruption outweighs coherence, there is Amit.
Amit.
Amit is not evil.
Now,
she is not a demon. She is system failure.
I admit, this is the ultimate king cleanup crew. This is like the cosmic catfish for souls. Because what happens is they weigh your soul and they're trying to determine if your soul is light. It's weird because they're like, it's not really sin, but it's behaviors, right? Like not stealing. I can't see how it's not. Now, the whole thing about it is you don't have to like worship Ma'at. She's not even asking that you do that. What she is asking or telling is that you're going to live by a certain set of rules. She's less concerned about how you are worshiping to her versus how are you actually, contributing to society. Are you harmful? Are you exploiting people? Those are the things that Ma'at asks, and you better have good answers for. And as long as you do, you're good. But as long as you're not, you can see what's going to happen. And that's Amit. Happily ready to break this down. Happily ready to consume a heart that didn't do a good enough job.
Given form, she does not punish souls. She terminates unresolved imbalance. A heart heavier than Ma'at is not sinful. It is incompatible. Amit exists because eternal storage of corruption breaks reality.
Yes.
There is no recycling here.
Yes, there's no recycling bin. So what happens? You get erased. You get destroyed. If you're that bad, they're not looking if you can be redeemed. There is no like buy your way. I know some religions have a pay your way to paradise type of thing. Not here. Not this. Not this belief system. It's hard accountability. If you did things wrong, then if it's bad enough, then they erase you. You get fed to the demon. She literally eats your soul. You don't get to exist anymore, ever, right? And that's a lot for you.
No reincarnation. No second pass written
See this?
in the code.
Yes.
What cannot harmonize is removed.
Yes.
Not
What
out of cruelty, out of necessity.
What cannot harmonize itself with the universe has to be removed. That's it. We don't need an argument about that. That's where the weighing of the heart ceremony becomes so important. Like I would die before I go. I'm trying to keep my heart as light as possible.
This is what makes the Ma'at system so unsettling. There is no favoritism, no belief-based exemption, no emotional appeal. Intent does not override outcome. Faith does not outweigh consequence. Power does not excuse imbalance. Order that cannot adapt collapses. Authority without balance invites destruction.
So you can see it moves it up. It's not just your average everyday person. This is for your role at all segments of life. How do you treat people ultimately is what they're saying. Are you promoting a good social structure as a part of how you do business?
A soul that cannot align is not punished. It is released from the system.
Released from the system.
This is not theology. It is cosmology. Later belief systems borrowed the language of judgment, but stripped away measurement. They kept reward and punishment.
And that's how some faiths, you can go and kind of pray it away. You did some bad stuff. As long as you go and pray it away before you die, you're good. Not these guys. And I like the system because it forces you to always consider just being a good person. You don't get the opportunity to be like, yeah, I'm just going to slack off and whatever, do something bad. I'll pray it away later. That doesn't exist here because you're going to be held accountable for what you do the entire way through it.
And abandon balance and proportionality. Ma'at requires no faith. She requires structure. And the universe quietly, relentlessly, still runs on her law.
So everyone kind of gets that. She's the one who sets a high standard for everybody. And you better hang on to it because if you don't, you're going to be the problem. So it's I think a simple system. Next time we come back and we talk anything about Ma'at, what I will do is come with the. In fact, that'll be my next one. We'll do the 42 laws of Ma'at or rules of Ma'at, and then we'll talk about the assessors, all 42 of them, who keep all this stuff in order. So it's no jokes when you're coming down to dealing with Ma'at. This is the process. You die, they weigh your heart. Now, what we've seen is that Anubis, he's there to help you. Nephthys is also there in the afterlife. So when you first wake up and you're all disoriented, you're gonna find some direction based on the people within the culture talking about what their safeguards is. And this is why they have the coffin text. The coffin text is give you a bunch of spells while you're in the coffin to be able to function in life once you get out. If you're thirsty, if you don't want to work, think about that one. And whatever it is that you're looking for, there's probably a spell that would help you out with it. So I'm gonna jack us out of here right now. I think we had a pretty good session. Still encouraging you guys to come in. It'll be a lot more fun to bring your questions. We can have some live discussions about these deities. So TikTok fam, thank you for stopping in. We'll be back shortly. finally got rid of those guys, man. So now it's just us, my YouTube, my day ones. And so this is kind of the end of this brief conversation here, just about how we view Ma'at, what the belief system actually means. There's always some opportunity for you guys to have your contributions in the comment section, but I'll be back to talk more about them. Look forward for you guys joining me in here. As always, I ask that you hit